Hi, Laurie.
When they stand off that pole.
I know.
Commissioner Adler.
It's here, the other ones. On the whiteboard.
Yep.
Morning, Commissioner Adler.
Hi, Peter.
I'm glad that works, because last time we're having owl difficulty.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Saw your op-eds, or your was it, I forget, was it Civil Beat or Star Advertiser column a couple of weeks ago? Very interesting.
Yeah.
No, not hearing you.
Um,
You're on mute.
Hey there.
Hi.
Oh, Commissioner Morrison.
Yes.
She's visible, that's your form.
Yes, thank you.
And it is precisely 11:30.
So when's her date?
So
Okay, thanks.
Oh, there she is. Morning, Commissioner Wayne.
Hi. Hey, Vicky.
So we're ready for an on-time start, apparently with the quorum. I'll take the attendance of commissioners first, but calling the meeting to order at 11:31. And I will ask each commissioner in turn to indicate on mic that you're present. I'm the only commissioner physically present. This is Chair David Monk. Commissioner Sumari.
Present.
She is present. Commissioner Adler.
Here.
And Commissioner Marks.
Here.
We may be joined or expect to be joined by others momentarily, but since we have a quorum, let's start the meeting. And I will start by mentioning that we've just come to order. So, and I just took attendance. So welcome, Commissioner Rice, and please indicate verbally that you're present.
I'm present.
Okay, we now have 5 commissioners. Thank you. And the first thing I want to mention is that there is an additional distribution besides what was posted earlier for the meeting materials, and that is the work report summary, which was a little bit delayed, didn't make it into the earlier posting. That is also available online in the usual place for meeting materials, so the public has access to that. And when we get to that point in the meeting,
All right.
But the big news is, and I think I can confidently speak for everyone in saying that we are delighted to welcome our new Commissioner, Patty Rice, who was just recently confirmed by the City Council, and that brings us up to full strength on the Commission. So, Commissioner Rice, we're very pleased to have you here. If you'd like to say a few words, please.
Hello, I am so happy to be here.
And I'll ask you to speak up because it's all going through.
The mic is right here. Okay, yes, I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you all for your patience and kindness and courtesy. I've had the opportunity to meet with the Executive Director and Legal Counsel, John Yamane, who has briefed me and really helped me understand better what the job is, and I am delighted. And I want to thank Leland for his courtesy the day of swearing in. It was a lovely event, and I look forward to working together with everyone.
I was sorry to miss that.
It was fun. Thank you so much.
Great to have you. So let's see. The next item is the approval of open session minutes, and I have a couple of corrections. If anyone else has any, let me know. But first, let me start with these were provided to me. These are the open session minutes of August 16th. On page 1, it apparently indicates that Vice Chair Jim Munn was present. He was not, so we should indicate that he was not present. He was absent. And on page 2, we, I think, failed to note that members of the commission were present both in person at Kapalama Holiday and virtually. So if we could just modify to show that. Does anybody else, any other commissioners or anyone else have any corrections to the open session I should have taken a motion first, but that was sloppy. Move to accept the open session minutes as corrected. Is there a second?
Judge Sonoy.
Okay.
Sorry, who was the motion?
Who made the motion? Was that Peter?
Sonoy.
Okay, who's second?
The second?
I'll second. Chair seconds. Okay, and the voting procedure throughout the meeting will be that we'll ask if there is anyone who plans either to vote no or to abstain. And if no one indicates that, then we will accept the vote as unanimous, just to save a little time in going through roll call every single time. So, does anyone plan to vote no or abstain on accepting the open session minutes as corrected? Seeing and hearing none, the open session minutes are accepted unanimously.
I think Vice Chair did jump in.
Vice Chair here?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, we're pausing to see whether we have Vice Chair online.
Here.
Sheldon, thank you, Sheldon, we hear you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are we, is anybody else still pending, or have we got everybody?
I think I'm missing William. I think
Oh, Commissioner Romano's not here.
And that's all.
Okay, we're getting there. That's great. All right, moving along to the 2024 proposed meeting schedule. Director Giovanni, do you want to say anything about that?
No, good morning, everyone. We are, as every year, we try to book out the conference rooms and your schedules for the coming year. That way we can ensure that we have quorum for our meetings. As in prior years, our first meeting will be in February and every other month. January, of course, is our heavy filing period with financial disclosures and lobbyists. The third months, if you could please note those as meeting dates in the event that we need to hold a meeting, we will have, assurances that we'll be able to make quorum. So if there are any concerns or issues about these dates, please let us know. I think Leland is probably our best point of contact on this. If you know of travel plans or other kinds of conflicts on those dates, give us the heads up, because then we'll do a quick head count just to make sure that we have enough for quorum on those dates. So if you haven't watched your 2024 calendar, I urge you to get it.
Yeah. And we don't need to confirm all of that at this meeting. We can do that subsequently by email or however it's convenient.
Yes, thank you.
Before we move along, I kind of overlooked something I should have done right at the top of the meeting, which is to welcome any members of the public who are in attendance, and to mention that you are welcome to testify in person, either or by video conference. And if you speak during the meeting, we ask everyone to limit themselves to 3 minutes. So I'll ask at this point for any members of the public who are in attendance to please identify yourself so that we can just make a note that you're here for the record. I see a couple of names with no images up there. We don't need to necessarily have your camera on, but if you would unmute yourself and just say hello, we welcome that.
SRU with Honolulu OCS.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ayu.
Good to have you here. I see Daniel. Are you there, Daniel? I stepped out of the room, and it looks like Eliza. Well, be that as it may, if you want to talk at any point during the meeting, give us an indication either on screen with a raised hand button if we have one of those. I think we do, or by unmuting yourself. And if anybody wants to testify now, prior to the agenda getting underway, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, at the appropriate moment in the agenda, you're welcome to testify. Also, because we have a number of commissioners online, I'll mention that if we should lose enough commissioners to solve our quorum, then we will take 10 minutes to try to fix any technical problems 10 minutes under the open meetings rules, we're required to adjourn the meeting without conducting further business at that point. So, commissioners online, I hope that you have no issues. We look forward to getting through the meeting expeditiously. And at this point, I'll ask for the executive director and legal counsel's report.
Thank you. I believe, I just heard from Commissioner Romano. She was trying to log on. Allison,
She's in the lobby. See her.
she's here.
We'll welcome her before you start. Commissioner Romano, hi.
Good morning.
We
are now a full seven-member commission for the first time in what?
A long time. I think so since Commissioner Conda.
Close to it.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So great to have everybody here. And for those of you who joined late, please join us in welcoming our new colleague, Tanya Rice, who's sitting to my left. Okay, Jan, please.
Thank
Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'll start on slide 6, having to do with staffing and updates. We are still, since fiscal year 21, waiting for our office renovation. I understand the notice to proceed. The last time we met with the Department of Design and Construction, they said somewhere between 30 and 90 days. We're kind of at the 30-day mark, so maybe there's another 2 months before the notice to proceed will be received. And then once that happens, apparently the contractor will then be scheduling out our time, and we'll have a better indication of what exactly faces us. We've been told that we aren't going to have to move anything, that the big pieces of furniture from the office, we might be able to just shift them from wall to wall. We'll have to clear the hallway, which will be a bit of a challenge. We may have office furniture stacked either in the coffee room here or maybe even in this conference room. I did overlook one thing on the staffing. We are recruiting for a training specialist. Those interviews are ongoing as we speak. We hope to fill it as soon as possible. I think we have advertised not only on our website and the city's website, but also on Indeed, and I think we also did one on LinkedIn. Yeah, in the city's site. So we've had a number of applicants apply, and some good ones I entered down. So we're proceeding with that. The work report summary is in your additional distribution. It has been posted online as well as sent to commissioners separately. I understand you had a comment.
I just wanted to mention in connection with the vacancy for a training specialist that I noted in the work report that everybody is picking up the slack and contributing to training. And I really appreciate it. I think we all do that. The training goes on despite that vacancy. And that's maybe the most important single thing to do. So grateful for that for everyone.
Yeah, we're actually very fortunate that all of the staff has stepped up to either, and we'll talk a little bit about them. I'm going to ask staff to share when we get to those items on the agenda. In fact, the next one on slide 7 having to do with the financial disclosure filings. We have some updates, and I'm going to ask Terry to share just a little bit. The managing director's office has been working with the information technology department on developing a new online filing application that will be available, we hope, for the January filings via hnl.info. You can already go to the hnl.info site and sign up for an account. My understanding is it's going to be, there's several tiles. You can get a permit, you can sign up for a Parks and Rec type of license. There will be one for financial disclosures as well. We are in the testing phase right now, so there's nothing there yet. But it's for those of you who have used TurboTax, it's going to be very similar to that. The first year, all of your information will have to be added in. In subsequent years, we will remember and bring back up your information again, which will alleviate having to refill it and everything. So it should be a really great system once it's up and running. We are happy to report that the Associate Legal Counsels, Terry is here this morning, Eric had up our commitment, are doing outreach to all of the city boards and commissions. It's something that we've wanted to do over, for quite some time, but never had the capacity to do so until we had 2 additional attorneys on staff. There are 27 boards and commissions, and they are attending each and every one of them. Our goal for financial financial disclosures this year is 100% compliance, which is our goal every year, but I think we're starting off a little earlier than usual to try and encourage that 100% compliance even earlier. So Terry, if you'd like to share that.
Sure. So I'll just give a bit of numbers. So we've already reached out to 27 boards and commissions. So far we have set 18 presentations from October through December. We've delivered 3 presentations thus far. And some of these presentations we've asked just for a very brief amount of time on their agenda to be able to talk about financial disclosures, definitely impressing upon them the impending due date, and then also kind of preliminarily introducing them to the potential new electronic submission process. And we've also got a request to do ethics training as well. So that's been nice. So we're delivering both, either just a financial disclosure alone or with an ethics training. And perfect timing, so a lot of new board members are coming on as well too in the fall. So we've been able to kind of, two birds, one stone. We have 5 pending scheduling, 4 outstanding. So it actually has been a lot of coordination and communication back and forth between all the boards and commissions. So far, it's been really awesome to hop in on these agendas and develop more of a relationship with these boards and commissions, especially the liaisons. So I'm hoping that that'll have, our 100% compliance goal will be much more attainable this year with this outreach on the front end.
I think what's been really wonderful is, hearing from both of the councils is that all of the boards and commissions that they've reached out to have been very, very welcoming and just so thrilled that they're actually saying, can we come to the meeting, getting on the agenda, being able to present. So that's a really wonderful thing. It's part of what we've tried to do is to establish some rapport, get out there a little bit more, put a face, on the commission staff so that people don't feel concerned calling in or asking a question. It tends to kind of break that ice. I think it makes people feel more comfortable. So hats off to the ALCs for having
Yes, so busy fall for us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
it seems like every day is like, oh, I have to go.
Yeah, we have 2 scheduled for tomorrow. We had 1 last night.
Yeah.
And we're still waiting on a handful more. So yeah, we'll be very busy.
Thank you.
Susan, could you come in for just a second?
Yes.
Yeah, Vice Chair, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I put mute on myself. I was,
Oh, yes, I understand.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Sorry.
So we'll proceed then. I'll move on to slide 8. These are the requests for advice that have come in to the commission. We are in a pretty steady, it's been pretty steadily heavy. And in addition to the, associate legal counsels going out to the board and commission meetings, they have been extremely busy. So we've tried a new process. We used to do kind of an every other associate legal counsel assignment of requests for advice. What we're trying now is called an attorney of the day. Many other agencies are an attorney of the day, Office of Information Practices, State Ethics Commission, I think Office of Disciplinary Counsel all use this process of kind of one attorney is on deck that day. It helps for scheduling and for workflow. In many cases, when you have more difficult pieces of work to complete or drafting, when you need kind of quiet hours, it affords those kinds of that kind of planning for the council. So we're trying it out. We're hoping it's going to work. I think thus far it's been a very positive response.
How long have you been doing that?
Probably about 2 weeks, maybe. So relatively new still to us, but it seems to be working. And then when somebody is out, we shift bodies and step in, and it seems to be working.
Great. Well, look forward to hearing more about that
Thank you.
as you accumulate experience.
Thank you. On slide 9, now this is kind of an interesting trend that we've picked up since fiscal year. Oh, I'm
Sorry, Commissioner Romano, were you?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if we are keeping a record of who the assigned person is for the AOD position, because if we have to trace anything back, that's a way to do so.
Yes, we are. We have a calendar that indicates who the attorney of the day is. And so on any particular day, if something came in, we will be able to trace it back. We also have we also have the request for advice logged in. Everything that comes into the office of any kind of contact, actually, is logged into the log. So it shows who took in the request as well as who it's been assigned to, and gives a date of response.
And of course, on the communications we.
Right. All corresponding communications are in the case file.
Thank you.
Welcome. So again, on slide 9, there has been a trend that we've seen since fiscal year 23, and a little too soon to be able to say exactly why it may be happening. But you'll note that the new cases received in both August and September is at 0. That doesn't mean that the investigators are not busy. They are very busy still. They are still carving away at the existing backlog that we had for quite some time.
For years. Yeah.
Right, so they have been able to close many of the cases. But we did notice that there was a huge, and I'll get to that when we get to the data reporting for fiscal year 23. But the new cases received is going down dramatically, and we're not sure if it relates in any way to the request for advice. If people are asking ahead of doing something, or what exactly is the cause. There has been a dramatic decrease.
Have the request for advice gone up in the corresponding?
Not exactly. So we're not sure if there's any kind of, we have done more outreach and education, which the theory goes that the more you reach out, the more people are informed, they have more resources, and maybe those things don't happen. That would be nice to think. I think it's too premature to jump to those conclusions, however.
And the likelihood is most that it's a combination of factors. Sorry, Sheldon.
Go ahead. I just wanted to know whether there are stats on the giving of the advice. Like the ODC does keep stats on when we give advice to see whether there's correlation between the giving of the advice and the dropping down of the complaints have any correlation. So I wondered if we did that for the commissions.
Yeah, we haven't correlated the two numbers, but we do notice that certain kinds of complaints come in, and then there is a bit of request for advice that kind of circles around the complaint as it comes in. So they are topic related. We also note that whenever we send out a newsletter or some other kind of outreach, there is a related set of questions that come in. Like we just did our gifts and our fundraising, and we do see fundraising and gifts questions coming in. When we get to the outreach portion of this agenda, we also have noted that we make sure that when we do those pop-up tables, to have attorneys on staff at those tables, because it's oftentimes people just walk by and say, "Hey, I have a question," and they see a friendly face, right? They're not intimidated. They can ask their question and get an answer right there on the spot. So, yeah, we will be doing more work on the data. And that,
I'm sorry, what I was really meaning was we tally the amount of calls and advice we give statistically. I wondered if you would.
yes, we do, and we will get to that on a subsequent slide in today's
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On slide 10, this is kind of a high-level recap of the city is going through its motions of compiling all of its fiscal year 23 statistics, and so that would be from July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023. The drafts are already in. They are the customer services department is the department that drafts the city's final annual report. The report is usually finalized around December and then disseminated to council at the time that the mayor's budget request goes in for review. It becomes a very important reference document for council and for anybody else that actually follows the city's budget. So moving on to the next slide, which is slide 11, is exactly probably right on point to what you were asking, Vice Chairman. These are our fiscal year 2023 statistics that will be reflected in the city's annual report and eventually in our own annual report. I realize the numbers are very small on the slide here, but it is an interesting piece, just that this is the first year that I think we have about 8 or so years of data that extend beyond what is on this table. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of trending to see if we can ascertain whether some trends go up or down depending upon election years, new administration, and that sort of thing. We do know that in election years, there tend to be more disclosures and other kinds of inquiries relating to elections. We also know that when the new administration came in, when Mayor Blangiardi's administration came in, there was a huge spike in disclosures and requests for advice. Many of his administration had come from the private sector and had never filed a financial disclosure before. So all of a sudden, all these questions came flooding in on what do I put, what do I consider, what is this, what is that, and then potential conflicts of interest requests also came in. Now you'll see in the row that says ethics concerns received on the table, there were 90 in fiscal year 2020, 128 in 2021, 160 in 2022, and then the dramatic drop down to 81 in fiscal year 2023. Again, we don't know what caused this, but it is, I think, statistically like a 49% drop in the total number of concerns received. It is dramatic. We don't know if this year is going to reflect the same kind of decrease. And you'll see that the requests for advice are actually noted under the informal and formal advisory opinions issued. It's the second to the last row. This number has jumped all over the place. The 195 that's a reflection of the request for advice that the ethics attorneys give to on inquiries. So in fiscal year 21, there were 320, fiscal year 22, 245, and fiscal year 23, 280. So the fiscal year 2021 actually correlates to the new administration coming in, new council members as well as new administration. So we do know that there are some direct correlations. Others are a little more nebulous. But we are going to still try to explain anything that would be over a 10% change. Does anyone have any questions on this table? We will rely on this table again for the city's annual report, and for our own annual report, we'll try to have a little bit more analysis going on, trying to explain some of these numbers, although some of it may not be quite, it's still a little bit of guesswork on why these numbers were certain.
I think it's always going to be a little bit of guesswork because this is all anecdotal. So
Yes.
It's just not statistically exact, but it does. The trending is going to show us something, and
Yes.
I'm hoping is that with the trends that it will help us to direct some of our resources in ways that I think are proven to be effective based on these stats. So not only do we have to track it and identify it, I think we should also, going forward, do something.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. We didn't have much by way of data and statistics until I think we started in fiscal year 2016, and then we went backwards and tallied up on the front end the 2015 numbers. But calls and other kinds of contacts were counted in the same way back then. So our data set didn't really come into play until about 2017. So now going forward, as of this year, we're going to have about 7 years. 10 years you need for trending. But 7 years is pretty close. So I will start to do some trend analysis to see if we can tell, the ups and downs. We do know, of course, training goes up and down depending upon when the second year of the biennial cycle is. That's when, the big crush of agencies are trying to finish up their training. So we do know what drives those numbers. Other years, we expect that financial disclosures, even after the election this year, next year will not be as dramatic as they have been in the past, because although mayor is, depending on who wins the mayor's race, will depend upon what kinds of administration numbers we'll see. He may not have many carryovers, or he may have new people coming in that will affect the numbers. But we'll try to do some analysis and get that into our standalone annual report this year. So look for that. I'm in the process of drafting it. I hope to have it finished before the holidays, maybe by November, maybe. But it will be a lot meatier than it has been in the past years, because we have a little more to work with.
Well, I think our patience is paying off, and we just have to be steadfast in how we do this and results are going to be very good going forward.
Thank you. That is our hope. If there are no further questions on the data, then let's move to slide 12, having to do with the operating budgets. Nothing to report on this year's budget, but we can report a little bit on the next year's budget, fiscal year 25. We are awaiting budget instructions. We do already have a date for every year the commission meets with budget and fiscal services and the managing director's office to solidify the request. And then the mayor's office will take the whole package of all the departments and finalize the mayor's budget request. There is an expectation of a request for a citywide budget cut, and this is driven by a number of things. First off, we know that there's a huge hole in the state budget because of what happened on Maui. All of the counties, of course, help to support the state budget. With that hole, my expectation is that the state will look to the other counties to fill some of those buckets. The legislature did not come into session as many had thought they might to play with the budget and see if they couldn't address it maybe too soon. I've heard that they will go into session at the usual time to try and fix whatever has been caused by the dramatic drops in revenue coming into Maui County. OPEB, which are those other post-employment benefits, there was a huge cost that Budget and Fiscal Services has talked about coming and looming on the horizon for years. And rail has started up, and until rail actually goes somewhere more than just the stadium, they know that the revenue coming in is not going to be anywhere close enough to cover even some of the costs. The build out is still happening. For those of you who have a chance coming to our office, you'll see it happening right in front of our office. But those kinds of things do impact the city budget pretty dramatically. So we are expecting that there will be a pretty tight budget in this and coming years, so long as we're in the process. I'm going to move on to slide 13, having to do with mandatory ethics training for both all employees and the boards and commission members. Associate and Assistant EDLC Will Nowinski, if you're available to, I know you've got a bit of a call. If you could please update us.
Both of those programs are still in the process. Hope to get it out to Department of Human Resources by mid-November for implementation in January.
Thank you. Moving to the next item on slide 14, the ethics training program pop-up events. These are relatively new. We've always wanted to be able to set up a little table with information and put staff on it at various city locations, just to catch walk-by traffic during the lunch period when people are out grabbing their lunch, taking a break. Come down and chat with us, pick up a brochure, get a plain language guide, or just talk with an attorney if you have a question. We have tried to have a staff member, an attorney, and an investigator at least at each of the pop-up events. We've had 2 so far. One at the Frank Fossey Municipal Building, which is the big building where pretty much everybody's located. Most of the departments are there. I'm going to ask staff to please chime in. I believe Terry, Eric, Cassandra were on that table. Please, you want to share a little bit?
Sure. I actually really enjoyed going to the Fossey Municipal Building. Just by happenstance, due to the weather, we had to locate our table directly in front of DPP. It was not by choice, really. Just the way that the rain whipped through that building. That was the best corner that we could be in to shield ourselves. But that did actually drum up a lot of traffic. So we did get a lot of inquiries from city employees and people who even popped down because they saw a reminder email that I believe Leland sent out, and they wanted to just come down and get some information from us. We had a bunch of the plain language guides, a lot of takeaways for them. We did there was actually for that day in particular a lot of requests for advice. So much so that we had to kind of divide and conquer. Both myself and Eric were there, so we each kind of were taking turns, splitting up a line that kind of started to generate, so be able to answer questions a lot specific to DPP and various other departments on And but the best thing was that all of them were very ethics driven. They wanted to know, what could they do to make sure that they didn't get in trouble or their colleagues didn't get in trouble. So that was really awesome to see that they were very ethics concerned, ethics minded, and putting a face to the name. I think that they seem to appreciate that we came out, get some contact information from us, and be able to follow up with us. And I don't think a lot of them realize that we're so far off campus. So to be able to kind of build that more of a communication line with them and let them know the services that we can provide and that what we're available for. So it was a pleasant experience, very busy. We had steady traffic throughout the entire time that we were there from about 10:30 to 1 p.m.
I think it was nice to remind employees and also you members of the public that we are resources.
Yeah.
It's if they have any questions, they don't just have to call us to complain. They can call and ask questions. And thanks to remind them that we're resources for them. And we're there to help.
And are you able to log contacts at those events so that you can incorporate them into the statistics?
Yeah, so we have, so castles are designated statisticians. We have a tally of how many visited the table, and that's kind of been the ongoing kind of tally taking that we're having for each table. Yeah.
Did you take pictures of the pop-up?
I think
Well, we do, yeah, we do have some photos of what the setup looks like and the staffing we're
So that could be potentially in a future publication. Or,
like a newsletter.
yeah, yeah,
Or on our website?
yeah.
Yeah.
so. Actually, what I was thinking was some of those pop-up events, like if we have a really great picture, it would be great for because we're always looking for some visual.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have trucks and buses and heavy equipment or facilities that some of these other departments can showcase. So we're always looking for anything that we can put the name in it. And I think what I heard from the team from that particular day was there were some people who were surprised that we are a resource for them. That you can call up, you can reach out to us. A lot of them didn't know that. And
I think we're just looking in the background.
exactly. And some of them were saying that, we've never seen you guys before. And we're like, well, yeah, because we're out in Oklahoma holiday and we're not on campus. So I think that told us something that we really need to be out there, doing these kinds of events.
Yeah, especially on an ongoing basis. I think it was great for them, more conveniently, to be able to just walk on by during a lunch break or in passing to come down and ask us questions. We try to still be mindful that they're asking us sensitive questions to
Take it off.
Take out the stuff.
keep it confidential and give them our contact information for follow-ups, especially so that they would feel more inclined to share. So I think they're looking forward to having it be on a more annual, scheduled basis that we can that they'll know where we are and then how to find us we're on campus. Yeah.
So the second event was a couple holiday, and I think it was staffed by Lehman, Jill, and Lori. Do any of you have that? And that was actually on a day that City Council met, and Ms. Rice's confirmation was that day as well.
I think we created a lot of buzz in that. I had so many people that I brought that I think everybody was gathered around the table and so other people said, "What's going on? What's going on?"
That's great. Nothing like driving up business.
And I of course got to put the table there just for me. I soon realized, oh no, this is a problem. Oh, but that was really nice. I got to see people. All of my people took brochures and had questions.
What the heck is she doing now?
What's she doing? But yeah, tell me what you saw.
I think Lori and Christy had some stats that these people might be
So please, yeah.
Yeah, Christy was present there as well. So most of the action actually occurred between 9:30 and 10:30 a.m. We met and congratulated Commissioner Rice and called her entourage of supporters. We conversed with cabinet members, council members, staff, employees. There were curious members of the public, some of who believed that we were the de facto info table for Kapolei Hale. I think Leland, since his former department of Parks and Rec was in that building, he was a semi-celebrity as well. So a lot of people had come by and were saying, "Oh, Leland, so good to see you," and how are you doing? So so that was great. And again, Jill had her tally sheet ready, and Christy was, our statistician. So we had about 22 city employees come by, 6 from the general public. We had about 3 requests for advice, and we actually had a prize winner, someone who decided to go ahead and do our puzzle, and so Leland got to hand out one of his prizes. So it was a really momentous day, and it was wonderful to see Commissioner Rice and all of her supporters there as well. It was full of lei and full of aloha, and it was just a wonderful day to be there.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add? No? Then we have one more coming up, October 25th. I think it's going to be staffed by Terry, Eric, Jill. Yeah. We're kind of stacking the attorneys on this one because we think there's going to be a lot of questions. It is right in the hallway. We're going to set up right in that open sort of courtyard area. So, and everybody looks around when they walk through the hallway, whether it's going up those stairs or over the balconies. Everybody's going to see that. We will have a reminder sent out as usual to the different departments to please stop by and pick up some things. We are in the process of creating a little bit of swag just so that people who stop by the table might be able to take away something. So we've got those at the print shop and so being produced as we speak. Hopefully we'll have them in time for the next year.
I have just a real quick question.
Yes.
And I'm kind of remembering it now. On the table, you have a sign at the bottom, on the bottom of the table. When people start gathering, they can't see it. Do you have a pop-up stand that can be behind you at the table, higher than you stand, so that people can see what's going on over there?
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, so that it's behind you and people see it. Prop them with 2 poles, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't see that if anyone's in front.
right.
But if it's behind you, above you, then it's like, oh, wow, they know what it is.
Okay. For everyone who's not familiar with what Commissioner Rice is talking about, we have a tablecloth that it's the front of the tablecloth says Ethics Commission. But when there is a crowd, clustered, you can't see the tablecloth. So her suggestion is to have something behind us so that people can still see why are these people all here. And that's a very good suggestion. You could
Take that tablecloth and hang it on a suspension bar with just 2 poles. And or you can use 2 tablecloths. Or
Yeah, could you both?
whatever, yes, whatever works.
Okay.
Just so, and also, and I don't know if this would be appropriate, but maybe balloons or, I don't know, I'm just thinking of, this is out of my creative brain now, but something that would get more attention, but look a little more festive and kind of convey, this is a happy thing. You don't have to be afraid of the other.
Right.
Or something. It doesn't have to be a balloon necessarily, but something that sparkles, a little bit of bling so that people look and see. And
very good idea. What I'm thinking is we can work with the print shop to have a foam board made for an easel, because we do have easels. And then, a couple of balloons or some kind of bling is doable. It's very doable.
it's anything,
Thank you very much for those suggestions. Maybe we can come up with something for our October 25th pop-up table. We're looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a lot of fun because we just said the Eve is just before Halloween, so we're going to kind of do the Halloween.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Chair and Director, I believe Commissioner Adler has his hand up.
Well, I just wanted to, I'm thinking back to, I came on the commission just slightly after when Jan was there. And the Ethics Commission was a place where you went to get spankings. And we're so far beyond that, and we're in a very creative place. I just want to congratulate everybody on that, because I'm recollecting where we started during the Troubles, and we're way beyond that. And as it's just a congratulations to all of you, especially to all the creativity that's popping out.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. All right, then I'll proceed to slide 15. As you know, we are also trying to visit a lot of different departments, just to see how they work, where they work, what they do, get a better understanding of the city and its various services. There are so many. If you recall, we had gone to HFD, to the fire department. We recently went to DPP, the planning and permitting department, for a walkthrough. My thanks to Eric for having set that up. It also included a meeting with the director and the deputy director, an active walkthrough, which I thought was not only informative, but I think very eye-opening in terms of how these city agencies serve the public. We have one coming up with the Department of Environmental Services. Thank you to Cassandra for having set that one up. Each power site visit, as well as a director and deputy director thereafter. So, you know, we always tell everybody we are not targeting your department. We are trying to go all around the city, you know, to try and take away that box that they may have. But, you know, we're there for a reason. We actually are just to see what they do and how they do it, but not for an enforcement reason. Correct.
This is not a raid.
Yeah, this is not a, you know, this is not something nefarious. We're just here to look, to see what you do and how you do it. On slide 16, now we are going into the holiday season, which is one of our busiest times of the year. We have a number of newsletters that are going out. You'll see in your meeting materials, there is a word scramble. Everybody loves a good word scramble, so it's a little fun item to have out there. The second item is the holiday season gifts FAQ. We try to put out a holiday season gifts FAQ every year, and as you can see, the print shop does a fantastic job of making something otherwise kind of dry into something very appealing. We know that people like the newsletters and actually refer when they call up for a request for advice. Many of them will say, "Oh, I'm looking at your gift, Scott, your gifts FAQ, and see that question for what about this?" Right, and they'll ask it based upon that. So whenever these newsletters go out, it's heads up to all the ethics attorneys to make their couple of questions. Moving on to the next slide, we have a quick gifts reference guide. This one is a little different than in years past, but you'll see the same red, yellow, green images. And the reason we've retained the red, yellow, green is that's what city employees refer to it as. When they call up, they say, "I'm looking at your red, yellow, green thing."
Yeah.
This is what my question is. So we know that this format, kind of this stoplight format, sort of works. So we've stayed with it and fixed it up a little bit, made it a little more current, and have put it out again. The other interesting thing that's not part of this particular set of items is we are working with the administration. This is an idea that Commissioner Adler gave last year. We are working again with the administration to have a no gifts letter posted on the purchasing site. Now, purchasing is part of, they do all the procurement for the city. They are part of the budget and fiscal services department. Last year, they were good enough to put up a letter that is a city letter that basically says, please do not, vendors, contractors, others working with the city, please do not gift personal gifts to city employees. That way, we've always wanted to kind of bookend the please don't give and employees please don't receive. And in that way, we hope to have kind of, you know, hands around the gifts process on both ends. They are trying to, I think, time their posting with our newsletters so as they go out. I think by the end of this month, that we hope that letter will be posted on the purchasing site. And then the final newsletter is on city lights and fundraising. So heads up, ethics attorneys, here come the fundraising questions. There is city lights fundraising as well as Celebrate United Way going on at this point. So we do get a lot of questions about, can we use city resources? Can we use city time? As I think most everyone is aware that the city lights process involves a compilation as well as Memorial Holidays, the city's gift to the city. We decorate up both holiday and the parade. And Santa visits every night the children, and it is just a wonderful holiday event. But there is fundraising involved, and so we do encourage, all of the departments as they do their fundraising to please keep these pictures in mind. Any questions on any of the newsletters? Okay, then I'll move on. Education opportunities. The Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics Conference, their annual conference was just held in Chicago. I did attend, and it's the private sector side of compliance and ethics. Nowadays, most private sector and nonprofit sector have a compliance and ethics or ethics and compliance officer in the C-suite, along with all the other CFOs, and CEOs, and COOs, etc. It is generally fairly lightly staffed still, kind of similar to the city, where we have a relatively small staff for our charge, which is very large. We're all 10,000 employees and all that sort of stuff. Same thing with many of these very large multinational companies. They have huge presence on all continents, or they have offices in hundreds of locations, and then they have 3 people in the office that do ethics compliance. So we feel like we're in pretty good stead. Go ahead.
Continue.
Okay. It is interesting to see the kinds of companies that do attend. There are some very big ones, the AT&Ts, the Qualcomms, the Netflix, I believe Instagram. Many of them are there at that conference in one capacity or another. And they have interesting insights on what kinds of things work, the training that they offer to their employees. Many of them have a little more budget than we do to work with, so they try to do these once a week, 1 minute little shorts, which is something we've wanted to do, but just haven't yet cracked that nut on how do we do it, how do we afford to do that. But they do these little 1 minute things, or they have an ethics compliance, and they have little things that they can hand out, little bits of swag that they can give. Again, we have a very tight budget, so printing costs are very tight for us, a little more challenging on our end, but we do get a lot of very good ideas from this conference. And I do recommend that at least one staff attend every year, because you see what your counterparts in the private sector are doing.
Do you run into many other public sector people at this conference?
Not this year. We have in the past, and we noticed that I didn't see Hiko there this year either. They may have their own challenges, but they may have been there. I didn't see them. Normally I do.
Do you have the report on the conference?
Not a formal report, right?
I'm just interested in the creativity part. I'm just thinking, what should we get done?
Yeah. I can make.
Yeah, that's
And I did bring the pictures when I come through to see what kinds of items are. They do have an exhibition hall, just something that the public sector conference that we're going to talk about next does not have. Of course, they have nothing but very pricey items for, you can get your some of your outreach done through companies that produce, video content or other kinds of content. We've never been able to afford those things, but we do look just to see what they have. I have asked them for demos to see, what kinds of things they can provide. We do have. I did stop by the Navex table, and Navex is the company that runs the hotline for the city. It is a budget fiscal services internal control division administrative contract. But I did pick up some reports which I will share with internal control, because we are always having questions on how can we make it better. It is only for city employees and officers, but it has had a little more traffic coming to it than in the past. I think it still feels like, even though it's been there for some years, it still feels like a bit of a fledgling program. And so I think a little more attention now that internal control division has a new division chief, and he has kind of taken it on, taken the bull by the horns, and is trying to push that program ahead. The next item on the agenda is the Council on Governmental Ethics Laws. And this is the governmental counterpart of the corporate compliance side. This one will be held in Kansas City, Missouri this year in December. Burr, take your coats. Make sure you have your snow boots and your hats. Eric, one of our associate legal counsels, and Cassandra, one of our investigators, will attend this year. First time out for the both of them, so I hope it's a great experience. I know last year was your first experience with COCO.
Right, and I went on my own dime because the commission didn't have budget to support my dime, but I really got a lot out of it.
So they have-
Highly recommend it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They treat commissioners like royalty because the vast majority of the people there, not all, but the vast majority, I'd say, are staff, are attorneys, and executive directors, investigators, and so they're very pleased to see commissioners, and they like to hear commissioners' perspectives. And the sessions I found really helpful. Our own Lori Wong-Nowinski, who's on the steering committee, so she had a lot to do with how they planned that conference, and as well as being a panelist herself. And there's social interaction. I really got a lot. I don't think I am up to going every year, both because of the expense, but also because I'm not sure I would benefit as much from it on an annual basis. It's just, at least once is great. Maybe once down the line would be another chance to go, but I highly. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to slide 19. There have been a number of COCO Connects on various topics: campaign spending, campaign financing, the judicial ethics conversation, engaging training, and then a conference preview. I don't know who has attended any of these. If anyone would like to report on any of the COCO Connects that they attended.
I was the facilitator for the Engaging Training Subconnect that happened this past Monday, and Alexandra Kipp, who is the excuse me, the Education and Outreach Administrator for the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board. He has a jurisdiction of about 350,000. And Susan Willicke, who is the Education and Outreach Administrator for the Ohio State Ethics Commission, her jurisdiction is about 650,000. They were both my panelists for that. And there were about 70 people that were signed up to attend this subconnect. And I want to thank Allison Wong for supporting me and for attending this session. There was very positive feedback, but basically it was finding out from these two veteran trainers. They had both been, Susan had been with her organization for 18 years in that capacity. Alex had been with his agency for 22 years. I said, "Oh, so what? Did you start when you're like 5?" I mean, he is just amazing. 22 years there, but 17 in his role as the manager for that section. Just going through the different, they have two very different styles, but both very effective, and just kind of showing the audience what we can learn from each other. Also to promote, we're starting this COCO. It's like a training library. So for those who are doing outreach and education out there, why start from scratch? Why reinvent the wheel when your COCO colleagues can share resources? So we kind of spent some time promoting that. We also spent some time promoting these outreach and education training sessions that they will be holding at the conference. So all in all, it was a very successful event.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laurie. Did Alex do any of his stand-up routine?
Actually, he didn't do it live, but he wanted us to show a clip. So the clip that we showed, it was called the misuse of position pageant, but instead of MISUSE of position, it was MISS use of position. So pageant. And so it was almost like a who's on first. It was very, he's so clever. The way he writes, the materials and everything like that. So it's just fabulous.
Thank you so much. Then actually the last item on our agenda, on slide 21.
And
Yes,
I attended the judicial ethics
please.
fifth. Yeah. And it was very, very interesting to me. They had a Canadian judge and a very, very experienced judge from California giving examples of some situations involving judicial ethics. But I think it's just a very unique set of circumstances. And so here in Hawaii, we had the Commission on Judicial Ethics, and it would be handled at that level. But I was pleased that Kogo thought enough of it to put it out there, because I don't know how other states handle it, but it was very interesting. So
Thank you.
Did current events come up in the discussion?
yes, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that because we didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But of course, hearing from the Canadian judge, is a very different perspective.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
So our final matter on slide 21 is the Ethics in Hawaii conference that many of you attended. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Rice, it was just ahead of your confirmation. So it would have, yeah, I think you would have really got a lot.
Are there notes or a compilation of information about it, handouts?
Whatever, I don't know what we have.
And we did include the state survey analysis report in our meeting materials.
So can I view that? Of course, thank you.
So I didn't know if anyone had anything to add or offer about this conference. It is our second time out of the gate. The last one was held in 2019, I believe. There's always a question of, well, when should we have another one? Should we have another one? I think the folks who are not involved in the planning say, oh, let's do it annually. And the folks who are involved in the planning are, oh, let's do it every so often. So it's, it's difficult to throw a conference just because we all have very little budget to work with and have very few staff to work with. We were very pleased with what Design and Print was able to do with our program this year. We thought it was a really fine job. My hat off to our co-host, the State Ethics Commission, Robert Harris, really took some of the white ones on his end, and he was very instrumental in getting speakers and some of the other the lunch, and bringing in all of the commissioners and staff from the neighborhood. That was all state budget. So I'd open it up for discussion or comments. We'd like to hear from everybody or anybody that attended to see what you thought about it, and whether you think we should have another one.
Staff as well as commissioners, anybody who has anything that they'd like to. I see Vicki has her hand up.
I think it would be good to share the Kobo training library materials with the Neighbor Island folks, as well as our own training materials with the Neighbor Island folks. I wouldn't wait for them to ask. I would just say, here it is. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't. But they are just struggling is the sense I got, and I think we should step up and try to help as best we could.
Others?
Anybody else?
Frankly, I think I don't know how to say this diplomatically. It's, when you're from a neighbor island, like I am, like I used to be, um, I think we're a little sensitive to this idea that, we're sort of second-class citizens. And I definitely get that from some of our folks in this group, because I know, when Maui was trying to explain their situation to Mike Lilly, some some of the folks did not understand what he was saying. They don't have anything. They have no support. They have absolutely nothing. And I don't know what that means to an organization that's steeped in some history like even ours, or the State Ethics Commission, but if it would have been decades ago that these organizations at Oahu would have experienced that level of nothingness. And that's true for Hawaii County as well, by the way. I don't know much about Hawaii, but so I think when they leave the conference, they're not feeling particularly supported or optimistic, unless we have these conferences annually. Because then at least they know that they can come back to, tell us, okay, we tried this, we tried that, there was some follow-up, but to do it every other year or whatever, it's just not enough for them. They can't wait 2 years to get some of that support, and why it affects us. If something goes wrong anywhere in the state, and it's an ethical situation, it reflects on all of us. I don't think any of the ethics groups on the neighbor islands escaped the taint of Kealoha, or some of these others, even though he was the chief here on Oahu. So I think it behooves us to help each other at a higher level. And I don't know how to make other people sensitive to it, but I have, brought it up. And I would also say that I attended the state ethics meeting the following time. I think, Laurie, were you there? Was it you and me? Because I wanted to hear what they had to say about this. And, they were talking about the budget and what this training cost. I mean, Jan, do you know what the training cost?
I do not, but I do know that the state paid for round trip airfare. They covered the travel of all, I think, of all the neighbor islands who attended, as well as the lunch. We provided, our office space, but it's city building, so it was at no cost to us.
So, David, do you know what it cost?
No idea. No idea.
Well,
Are you-
they estimated, they didn't have a complete budget yet, but they estimated $2,500, which I thought was very little. I said, well, if it's that much, why can't everybody contribute something, even if it's $200 for the neighbor islands or whatever? And it's not cost prohibitive. So there's something else that's causing folks to hold back. Maybe they're not, they're calculating in time that I would not know of, and I can appreciate that, they don't want to spend the time and the effort, but the benefit statewide for something like this to everybody is it's uncountable. It's big, and we started there. I mean, Laurie, I don't know how many people were in your office when you started, but I know when I started with you all, there was less than five. Yeah, we were short.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mean height-wise. I'm talking body-wise. We just didn't have enough bodies. Anyway, sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
I want to just tag on to what Ricky's saying. I heard a lot of interest in trying to beef up in on Maui, on the Big Island, and on less so on Kauai. But there was a lot of saying we really could use some help. And I think one of the things we might think think about doing, either with the state ethics commission or on our own, whatever the dynamics are, is to send a follow-up and say, if we, within our own reach and our own abilities, if we can help with some specific things, and we can talk about some of the things that were mentioned there at the conference. And they need political support. They need to be able to beef up and get their own staff. And they need, just my sense was they're outgunned on the neighborhood councils, and they need some support. If we can offer short pieces of advice or ideas, either as commissioners or as staff, I think we would, it might help them along. I don't want to treat them as like a third world, but
Right.
they're pretty dysfunctional, or not dysfunctional, but they're just out resourced. They don't have resources to do much, and they need it. And I think one of the stories of this commission is how effective it's been to rebuild itself and become strong. That's what they need. So I don't know, just it's a thought about sending some kind of a communication to them and helping them with specifics, whether it's in issues around investigations, tribunals, fielding complaints, strategy, whatever it is that they need. And within our ability, we have limited abilities too, but offer to help. Just
And like so many things in life, the more you give, the more you get. So our helping others is really going to help ourselves as well. That's how I think.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get on all of their distribution list for their agendas, and try to at least attend their meetings. So kind of start off as kind of not, like not really infringing on them, just kind of seeing how their meetings go and how their meetings run, and then maybe kind of, go from there. So if you're interested, I could try to start forwarding out notices of their meetings. If anybody else would be interested in attending, the other counties' meetings.
Lori, I would definitely, but I know that if I stick my neck out there, I'm just game. It's not a good idea for me to do it right now, but I'd be happy to help you.
Okay.
And I think it makes a difference if we're sensitive to
Yeah.
understanding that every place has their own kuleana
Mhm.
and their own cultures, and that we can help each other.
Sounds good.
Do you want to say something?
Yes. I think that the point you bring up is really important. I would go as far as saying to those outer island ethics boards or commissions that we have discussed, in the spirit of Aloha, we have discussed their current situation and the needs they expressed at that meeting that you attended, and ask how we can be of assistance and help to them by sharing the fact that this commission also endured challenges and understands how difficult it can be. So that, again, coming from a cultural perspective, we want to be there to assist because they are us and we are them. And that's, I think, what other commissions need to understand. We're all the same. We're in this together. So we have to have each other's back. We have to support one another. And how can we be of help? As opposed to, as you said, not coming with, oh, let us show you, let us tell you, here's what we do, why don't you do it the same way? We really have a lot to learn from their challenge. They need to understand the challenges that has occurred here, which they probably already well know. But again, I would make that overture and extend the leaf of aloha to all the ethics commissions statewide, whether it's our purview or not. I don't know, but I would just suggest that we take it from that direction.
I think that was actually a major part of the message of the conference itself. Was was that spirit of sharing. And we all, I think, are pretty sensitive to this whole need to avoid bigfooting the other counties and huge disparity in resources that exist. I don't know whether you're familiar, but the State Ethics Commission tried, in I think, a generous spirit to introduce legislation to increase funding to counties at the ledge for the purpose of beefing up ethics commissions. The problem being that they didn't consult with us first, and we had some issues with that. That legislation didn't go in. But yeah, I think the fundamental issue for them is one of politics, that they need to get their county councils to commit to providing them the support that they need. How best to go about that? I'm not sure. That's a whole issue.
I guess I'm just saying, anchor it in cultural.
Absolutely.
And I think the points that I'm hearing are all well taken. You know, I don't know how many times already at this meeting I've said, this is the first time we're doing something because we finally have additional staff, right? The outreach tables, the board and commission outreach, some of the newsletters, you know, some of these things that the statistics, right? Some of the things that we're doing, we're only doing them now, right? Because we've finally grown enough to have the resources and the capacity to do some of these things. So we are not so far away from all of that. This has been a long, hard slog to build budget, to build confidence, to build staff, and it continues to be a challenge. You know, so you're right. We are all the same. We really are.
Anybody else who hasn't spoken have anything that they'd like to add? Okay, before we conclude the meeting, I'd just like to ask if there are any members of the public who wanted to testify that haven't had a chance to do so. Now's your chance. I don't see everybody on screen in the current format, but if you're there and you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself. Okay, hearing none. Our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, December 20th, just before the Christmas holiday. And with that, I have a motion to adjourn.
Chair Monk,
Yes, Commissioner Romano.
wasn't sure if that was the Deputy Corporation Counsel Jeff Cam who graced our meeting today. Was that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, I would like to extend my personal appreciation for him coming by to say goodbye.
I see. I'm not sure that's why he came by.
I'm sure it has to be. I can't think of many other reasons. Did you finally marry her, Jeff? I
No,
guess
something for you guys. No.
I hear you clearly, Jeff.
well, nice to see you and thank you for all your help.
Commissioner Somari. Eileen, you had something you wanted to say?
I couldn't hear you, and I wanted to know if the meeting was in or in or out. So I'm going out. I don't know where you are.
Oh, okay. All right. We need to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Adler, second.
Second,
Mark seconds. Anybody object? Okay. Without objection, the meeting is adjourned until December 20th, our next session.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
happy Thanksgiving.
A simple reminder after the next meeting, we are going to have a little holiday potluck after the December meeting. And it will be Commissioner Ramone's last meeting.
Oh, no.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
join us in bidding her fun.
Leave it at that.
We heard that.
Okay.
I like her.
Leave it at that.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Leland, is there any way that we can see the people when they're speaking instead of with the little things, but actually?
I think she was trying to control because we do the details to be partitioning for you both as well. So I'm not too sure if there's a way to make both, how it's just the.
Yeah, speaking or down. Yeah, I couldn't see, so.
I was gonna mention to you just as a way of some background